you what, I bet you're going to have a really great year.
You know what, Doctor? I really have had one hell of a year. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek. You are watching Kevin the Geek. And today I am celebrating my birthday. I am celebrating the Doctor Who 60th anniversary. But more importantly, I'm celebrating my first full year of doing videos for YouTube. Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek, and you are watching Kevin the Geek. And today, it is time to do what I've wanted to do for such a long period of time. I cannot believe I am where I am from starting about a year ago. I can only thank each and every single one of you who has viewed any of my videos, who has liked my videos, who has put any comments down, negatively or positively, because you get a bit of both in this gig. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been one hell of a journey. But in 2 days' time, we're going to be having the first of the 60th anniversary specials, A Star Beast. We're going to be having the return of David Tennant. We're going to have the return of Tate, of Russell T Davies, of Murray Gold, what some fans consider to be the golden era of modern Doctor Who. And to celebrate my first full year doing YouTube, because I started this to be able to talk about Doctor Who, and I've been doing reviews all of this time. I started with the first ever episode with Rose, and yesterday I did my review of The End of Time. And so, what I want to do today is to rank every single story from New Who, from Rose through to The End of Time. Now, if you haven't seen any of my reviews, firstly, please do go back and check them out. I've put so much hard work into all of them. Obviously, the quality of the earlier ones do differ somewhat to the quality of the videos I do now, because I've learned a lot and I've evolved a lot over this last year. And maybe that may be reflective in some of the scores I gave in the early days. But basically, how I do my reviews is every episode of, or rather every story of Doctor Who, because I count two-parters as one single story. I give each story a score out of 100 by having 10 different categories and giving each of them a score out of 10. And so what that ultimately means is that I'm able to rank them very fairly. And this is what I'm going to be doing today. You're going to see the results of this last year and all of the scores and the grades that I have given to each episode and each story. Now, there are going to be some that are tied on points. And what happens in that scenario is I'm going to be the tiebreaker, because this is my list at the end of the day. And I will choose, in my personal opinion, what I feel is the better episode out of any episodes that tie with each other. And there are a few. But there are 47 episodes in total to review. And so, let's not waste any more time. Let's get ranking. Coming in at number 47, it is The Long Game. This one was 28 marks out of 100 and is the only episode to get an F rating. It was bad for many reasons across the board. Even like the Doctor and Rose, they were just very average and arguably below average. At number 46 with 43 marks and a D rating, it is Aliens of London and World War III. A lot of the first series episodes just suffered from not quite knowing what their tone was supposed to be, and this episode and this story was just so childish at times. It had a great potential hook, but failed to deliver. At number 45 with 46 marks, it is Rose. And I feel a little bit bad. I feel that this episode is better than some of the episodes that are a bit higher up on this list, but overall I had to be really critical and analytical And ultimately, there was just a lot of stuff that it just suffered from being the first episode back, and it was still just finding its feet. At number 44, with 47 marks and a D rating, it is The Lazarus Experiment. And this one, it had potential, but it was really severely pulled back by the villain, that it was just unconvincing, uncompelling, and looked so bad in its CGI. At number 43, also with 47 marks, it is Love and Monsters. Now, the reason I've put this one a little bit higher, yes, it is a bad episode, but I at least appreciate that it tried to do something different, because it was the first Doctor Light story that featured in Doctor Who, and it was ambitious to do, but it just failed to deliver, but I still appreciate the effort. At number 42, and the final episode to get a D rating, it is The Unquiet Dead, which scores 48 marks. And this one had some good elements to it, but again, it was, like I said, it's one of those early episodes that was still finding its feet, and yeah, with hindsight, maybe could have scored a bit higher, but yeah, it was okay. The next 5 on this list all got a C- rating, and coming in at number 41, it is The End of the World, which scored 52 marks. Again, early episode, still finding its feet. Yeah, just needed a little bit more to bump it higher. At number 40, also with the same amount of points, it is The Runaway Bride. And the reason this one gets bumped ahead is, I think, because David Tennant has really found his groove as the 10th Doctor by this point, and it just has a much better flow and consistency for the episode. At number 39, with 53 marks, it is Fear Her. And I really felt that this one was slightly better than I gave it credit for when I had initially watched it. I always used to hate it and thought that this would be very close to bottom, like The Long Game. But it actually surprised me when I rewatched it and I reviewed it. At number 38, also with 53 marks, it is Planet of the Dead. And the reason I put this one slightly higher up is because it felt a little bit more jolly, and it had a bit more fun to it compared to Fear Her. That's the only reason. Plus, I do think that Lee Evans, despite me not really liking him as a comedian, he was hilarious as Dr. Malcolm in this episode. At number 37, with 55 marks, it is Gridlock. And there's a lot of good moments to this episode, but if you take the moments out of them, as an overall episode, it was just okay. At number 36, with 59 points and a C grade, it is the episode 42. And this one was very average across the board. It had some intriguing prospects to it, but it was just very average. At number 35, with 60 points and another C grade, it is The Idiot's Lantern. And I, again, think that this one was slightly better on rewatch, but I really hated the villain in this episode. We're moving into the C pluses now, and at number 34, it is The Unicorn and the Wasp, which scored 61 points. And this was another fun episode, and you're really feeling the form between Donna and the Doctor. There were some iffy CGI moments, it's got to be said, but hey, having a murder mystery set around Agatha Christie, I enjoyed it. At number 33, with 62 points, it is New Earth. This was the first episode featuring David Tennant, the first full episode, I should really say. And again, it was fun, and it had some mysteriousness to it, but I think the Cassandra aspect of it just held it back slightly for me. At number 32, also with 62 points, it is Father's Day, and another episode that really surprised me. I always hated this episode, but rewatching it, I can see a lot of the really good stuff that it tried to do. And the emotional stuff between Donna and her father with Pete Tyler, that was very effective. But the Reapers were absolutely stupid! At number 31, with 63 points, it is the Next Doctor. And the hook of this and the cold open was absolutely fantastic. And the interactions between Jackson Lake and the Doctor was fantastic. But I feel that it was held back by a very bland episode for the Cybermen. It wasn't very engaging for me personally. We're moving into the B minuses now, and at number 30, it is The Christmas Invasion, which scored 66 points. And this, I think, the only reason it was held back the most is because of the lack of the Doctor. Not that it was bad for the episode, but he obviously didn't get a great score for it as a direct result. But I did really enjoy the little stuff that we did see with the Doctor on his first appearance. At number 29 with 67 points, it's the third Christmas episode in a row, and that was The Voyage of the Damned. And this one was just really good fun. There were some very dark and heavy moments at times, but overall, it was a lot of fun, and that's what you want at Christmas. At number 28, also with 67 points, it is Boomtown. And this is another one that has grown on me over the years. And the reason I put it slightly higher, because of the same points, is just for the simple fact that ultimately the premise and the hook with having someone who is effectively going to be executed and dealing with the moral questions of it, I really enjoyed that. At number 27 with 68 points, it is The Doctor's Daughter. And if you take the clickbait aspect of it away from this episode, it was okay and entertaining. Martha didn't have a lot to do, and I felt that Martha was really wasted. And ultimately, the emotional stuff in this didn't pay off as much as I really would have liked to, ultimately. And that's why it's still slightly above average. At number 26, also with 68 points, it is Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. Now, there was no way that I was going to be able to put this below The Doctor's Daughter, because they both have enough wow moments to tie with each other. But ultimately, having the final episode with Christopher Eccleston and the Ninth Doctor, it was really powerful. The only thing that held this back overall was because the first episode I think is just of much more minimal quality compared to the second part. At number 25 with 69 points, it is Smith and Jones. This is a great episode, and I really do love this introduction to Martha. She's so strong and capable, and it was a fun, rollicking adventure. We're at the halfway point now, and it's number 24 with 69 points. Also, it is Dalek. And this one may surprise people that it's this far down, because the stuff that it does is phenomenal. The Doctor, the Dalek, Rose in this, they are all really, really strong. It's some of the other categories that just kind of held it back from being much higher up on this list, but I love this episode. At number 23 with 70 points, it is The Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel. And this one surprised me because I really thought that Dalek would place higher up on this. But I feel that this one, although didn't have as many fantastic moments compared with Dalek, it was a slightly better all-rounded episode. And that's why it just got the edge by 1 point. The next 5 episodes are all in the B-graded category. And at number 22 with 71 points, it is The Shakespeare Code. And I don't know why, but I always have a bit of a soft spot for the more historical-based episodes, more than the modern day or futuristic ones. And maybe this played a small part to it, but it was, again, a lot of fun. And having an episode based around Shakespeare and having some puns around Harry Potter, maybe that just helped it that tiny little bit. At number 21, also with 71 points, it is Partners in Crime. And this one, it had to come down ultimately due to the chemistry between Donna and the Doctor compared to Donna and Martha. And that's what gave it the edge because they're obviously tied in points, but this episode was just a riot from start to finish. At number 20 with 73 points, it is School Reunion. And this was a fantastic episode. I love Sarah Jane and K9. But my biggest prop in this one had to be Anthony Stewart Head as the Krillitane leader. And the face-offs that he had with the Doctor, that actually came number one in one of my rankings that I did recently for the best moments featuring the 10th Doctor. And that is a big part of why this is so high up on this list. At number 19, also with 73 points, it is Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Now, again, this is probably a surprising one. People would probably think that this might be a bit higher up on this list, but ultimately, I am just not a big fan of the emotional aspect of the Doctor and Rose's relationship. Ultimately, I'm just not a huge fan of it. And so, because that doesn't leave me with the emotional attachment that I think most people have, I didn't get that emotional feeling. And that's why some of the points just pulled it down. At number 18 with 75 points, it is Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. And this two-parter is one that I feel is very unfairly criticised. I like it when Doctor Who takes a risk. It doesn't always pay off, but for me personally, I felt that this was a really strong episode. It was very well acted. I loved the character of Solomon in it. He was absolutely fantastic. Tallulah, a little bit less so. She was a bit annoying and a bit grating, but I loved the different thing they tried to do with the Daleks, particularly with Dalek Sec. And I thought the makeup and the prosthetics to make him look this human Dalek hybrid, I thought they were fantastic. And coming in at number 17 with 76 points, it is Utopia. And this is a very fun episode for me because there's a lot of shock moments and wow moments, but does the rest of the episode manage to make it into the upper echelons? It doesn't quite manage to make it. It is the really great stuff which probably puts it higher than some of the ones lower down on this list, but ultimately, if it wasn't for those, it would be slightly above average. At number 16 with 77 points, it is Tooth and Claw, one of my favourite episodes, because it is just so silly and cheesy and fun, and again has a historical element to it and the mystical element in the werewolf. It's the kind of stuff that I do really enjoy. And again, people may not be expecting this one to be so high up on this list, and I may get criticism for it, but I do think it is a very well balanced episode. At number 15 with 79 points, it is the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. And this two-parter was again very fun. It utilised Martha coming back really well, but also Donna had some great moments with her family. She had some moments where she actually was able to stand out for the first time on her own when she was really needed to, and that's why I really like this episode. At number 14 with 80 points, it is The Girl in the Fireplace. And this one doesn't quite have, again, the same kind of emotional attachment that a lot of people do have. And again, maybe it could be a little bit higher up on this list, but I had to be very analytical and very critical with all of these. And you get into this point where they're so finely balanced that literally 1 or 2 points will swing it in either way. But overall, it was a very strong episode. Unlucky for some, number 13 with 80 points, it is The Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords. And no, I don't count this as a 3-parter with Utopia. I do consider this a 2-parter, just these 2 episodes. And ultimately, it was very strong. I loved a lot of the interactions between the Doctor and the Master. But the resolution with the Doctor becoming this messiah kind of figure and an angel and a Superman Jedi kind of thing at some points, no, I wasn't a fan. The next 6 episodes are all A graded, and coming in at number 12, it is Planet of the Ood with 81 points. And this one was very strong emotionally in so many aspects. It has so many good questions, morally and ethically, both to us as audience members, but also the characters in it. But there were some very cheesy moments which just probably held it back that ever so much tiny bit. Coming in at number 11, just missing out on the top 10, it is Turn Left with 82 points. This one, some people don't like the what if scenarios. I personally do, if they are done well. And this one was done really well. At number 10, also with 82 points, it is Fires of Pompeii. And this one, I just feel for the moral and the ethical questions it raised in this one, it just gives it the nod over Turn Left. But they're both really strong episodes with some great performances from all the cast involved. At number 9 with 83 points, it is The End of Time. And this one was a really, really good episode. But ultimately, I feel that the emotional impact on it, on this occasion when I reviewed it yesterday, it didn't quite have that same impact on me. And so, even though I found it very emotional at the time when I first watched it, on this rewatch, I had to just mark it down in a couple of instances, which just bumps it down this list. At number 8, with 84 points, it is Human Nature and the Family of Blood. And this is an episode and a story that I didn't like when I first watched it. And it is one that has truly grown on me over the years. And I never thought it would be this high based on when I had first watched it, if I had to think about my rankings back in those days. But ultimately, I think the incredible performances of David Tennant, Freema Agyeman, and Jessica Hines, they are what really makes this episode shine. Coming in at number 7 with 85 points, it is The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances. And this was my first ever A-graded episode, all the way back in Series 1. And I love this episode. There are a few minor missteps along the way, but for a first series, which the second best episode was Dalek by 69 points, this was a step up in performance across the entire board, in writing, in set, in costumes, in music, in everything. And that is why it's so high up on this list. At number 6 with 86 marks and an A+ rating, it is The Stolen Earth and Journey's End. And this was the biggest and most ambitious episode and story that Doctor Who, in my opinion, has ever attempted. Maybe you could argue that it may be tied with The Day of the Doctor for the 50th anniversary, but at the time this was an incredibly ambitious project, but it succeeded in what it intended to do. And the final scenes with Donna, they still get me to this day. At number 5 with 87 points and another A+ rating, it is Blink. And for many people, this should be their number 1 pick. But we're so tight here at the top. I could easily put any of these top 10 in any order. And so this is the joy of doing my reviews in the way that I have done, because it allows me to be so super analytical and critique it down to the minutest things. And it was an exceptionally good episode overall, it has to be said. At number 4, also 86 points, The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And this ultimately is simply because this is my favourite episode of Modern Doctor Who. This 2-part story is just a masterclass in what it attempts to do. It is so dark and creepy and haunting all the way through. Yes, there are missteps which do pull it back ever so slightly compared to the other top 3 candidates, but this is my favourite episode. Now, all of the top 3 episodes are the only ones to score an A++ grade. There was the potential to get an A++, but none of them quite managed to make it, but it would have been an insanely good episode to make that grade. But coming in at number 3, Silence in the Library and the Forest of the Dead, which scored 93 points. This gave an introduction to probably the biggest fan favourite character, very closely tied with Captain Jack Harkness. River's Song is such an intriguing character, and the way that she performs this enigmatic role, despite having no history at this point, it was done brilliantly. And I think the only things that pulled this back ever so slightly was just the stuff that happened with the Donna dream sequence in the second part, which ultimately I wasn't particularly fond of. And if it wasn't for those bits, it quite possibly could have been the number 1 pick. At number 2, also with 93 points, a bit of a Marmite episode for some people, it is The Waters of Mars. And this is an episode that, like I said, it is either you love it or you hate it. I don't really tend to find people who find it in the middle. For me personally, I absolutely love it. It is one of my favourite episodes. I think the entire cast performs it so well. Particularly David Tennant and Lindsay Duncan. They were phenomenal in their roles in this. But the story and the dark path that the Doctor goes on, that is what pulls it really high up on this list. And if I'm being, again, super critical, had we been able to get more of this Time Lord Victorious thing, again, this arguably could have been its number 1 spot. But there is only 1 episode left. And if any of you have been following it through, you may have guessed what it is. And with 95 points at number 1, it is Midnight. And this episode always felt like it was going to be at least top 3 before I even sat down to begin my reviews. Because it is so memorable. It is so brilliant in every little aspect that it sets out to do. The setting is a character in its own right, helping it feel very claustrophobic. The villain is intriguing because you don't know its name, you don't know what it wants, you don't know what its goals are. And it is arguably the only time in modern Doctor Who where the Doctor actually loses. And he would have lost his life if it wasn't for the hostess, who is unnamed. We never found out her name. She was very significant, but it's very sad that we never knew her name. So, there you have it. Those are my rankings for the first 47 stories of Modern Who, all of the ones from the Russell T Davies era. Now, in the new year, I will be continuing with my Doctor Who reviews, going on with Matt Smith's era, and I will probably do a similar thing once we get to the end of the Stephen Moffat era, following the end of the 12th Doctor's time. So there will be another ranking of that, so you can see how those all compare to each other. And then after that, maybe I'll do another one where I include those episodes into this list, which will probably push it close to the 100 episode point. And then, obviously, we have the Chris Chibnall era after that, which I will do my reviews on and do all of those, which I'm looking forward to because it's going to be interesting, because most of those I've literally only ever seen the once, compared to, for example, the Russell T Davies era, which I've seen probably each episode minimum 5 times, at least, over the years. But that is going to bring my ranking to an end. This is probably my longest non-reaction video to date. I really hope you've stuck with me. If you've stuck with me to this point, give me a double thumbs up in the comments, but also let me know how you felt that these episodes should be scored. Do you feel that I've got it about right? Do you feel that some of these should have been in completely different positions? Whatever your thoughts are, please drop your comments down below. Remember, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, smash the like button, and of course, a happy 60th anniversary to Doctor Who. Join me again tomorrow for a Doctor Who reaction. And then I've got a couple more reactions coming up over the next week, culminating with next Wednesday, my reaction to the first Doctor Who 60th Anniversary Special. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. But for today, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.